Roger Stone is back with us. Roger, it's great to have you back on.
Grant, it's great to be with you. I obviously am not shocked that I am among those targeted on the Arctic frost list. When it was made public, or at least alleged, that Richard Nixon had an enemies list, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, they all went crazy. Where is the outrage over this? This is weaponization writ large. There's no probable cause to investigate these people, but they were targeted, along with me, General Flynn, these members of the Senate, Republican and pro-faith and pro-life organizations, targeted because they disagree with our ideas, because we challenge their ideology. There are no crimes here. But Jack Smith was running an extra constitutional operation to spy on people, to entrap people, to charge people with minor or major crimes. This is the greatest single abuse of power certainly since Watergate. But it's really not surprising. The same people who used a phony dossier, the Steele dossier, and the fake claim that the Democrat National Committee had been the target of an online hack by Russian intelligence, both of which they knew was not true, who went to the FISA courts to get warrants to spy on Donald Trump and his campaign, and to use those same false claims to rationalize the appointment of Robert Mueller in the witch hunt. This is just a continuation of the same seditious conspiracy. It starts in 2017. It goes through two fake impeachments. It goes through the 2020 election. It goes to the January 6th hoax. And of course, it goes right into the so-called documents case in which they raided Mar-a-Lago.
Roger, I want to just expand on what you said, because I know you know this, that certainly it's because you and others disagreed. But it was more than that. It was that you had power to reach the MAGA masses. The others had power to do something about it. It was that power, that voice that they wanted silenced. And how do I know this? My buddy John Solomon had figured out the timeline of this. Roger, listen to John Solomon spell out the timeline, and then I'll get your reaction here.
They're trying to criminalize in this memo when they open it up in April of 2022, 15 months after January 6th, and just 4 days after Donald Trump has announced he's going to run for re-election. And I think that's really important. This investigation, if you thought what happened on January 6th with the electors was bad, you could have done it on the 7th or the 8th or 9th of 2021. They wait a whole year until Donald Trump raises his hand and says, I'm getting back in the arena. I'm running for 2024.
4 days after his announcement, Roger.
Yeah, there's actually video at one point where they asked Joe Biden, and he blurts it out. They said, aren't you worried about a rematch with Donald Trump? He says, no, we're not going to let him run. There you have it. So they did this entire tsunami of lawfare against the president and his most connected supporters, those who, as you point out, could communicate on a mass base to millions of people, to silence him. Look, they tried to keep him off the ballot. They tried to impoverish him. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to throw him in jail, and ultimately they tried to shoot and kill him. And he transcended all of that to pull off the greatest single comeback in American political history. And now they're really hysterical because he is making America great again, and he's going to right some of these wrongs. They insist at the New York Times, Trump is on a tour of revenge and retribution. No, Trump is on a tour of accountability and justice. If you broke the law, if you violated the constitutions in your mania to quote unquote get Trump, then you should be held responsible. It's not about revenge. It's not about political targeting. The people who weaponize the justice system are Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and the Democrats, not Donald Trump.
Yeah. This is just how biased they are. Arctic frost. People were trying to figure out what the name is. It turns out the name is from a tree that grows Mandarin-style oranges. And it was about the color. There it is. That's Arctic frost. And that's how biased they are. Orange man bad. Let's name a whole investigation after this. Roger, I guess my last question to you is this. You heard Ted Cruz say we want accountability. We've seen a couple of these guys be charged, like Comey, with lying to Congress. Will we get the accountability I would say the nation deserves, but Roger Stone, you of all people, the accountability that you deserve?
Well, it remains to be seen. I mean, we have a Republican Justice Department. We have a Republican Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General. I mean, will people be held accountable? The president seems to favor that, but let's go to the big guys: Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Susan Rice, Joe Biden himself, Mueller, certainly, Rosenstein, Weissman, the people who orchestrated the largest single dirty trick in American political history, the largest single abuse of power, which morphs into Jack Smith's investigation, including Smith himself, who, by the way, doesn't have an auto pen pardon. Will they be held accountable? It remains to be seen, Grant. I don't know the answer, but I pray for their accountability.
Yeah, I do too, Roger Stone. For everybody that was targeted here, and everybody really deserves this. The nation deserves it, because this is, as you said, one of the worst crimes, I think, committed on Americans. Roger Stone, I appreciate you coming on as always. Go John Jay Indians. Thank you, my friend.